Sublime have to take a break because out of the storm came Ed O'Brien, the guitarist from Radiohead. I'm apologizing already for the weather, although you know what, that's stupid because back home it does this all the time, correct?
Yeah.
Wait, can you?
This one here.
Yes, pick one and stick with it, okay?
This is kind of a typical English summer.
Really?
I feel very at home here, yes.
Okay. Well, then you know what? I'm glad it's raining because we would want you to feel comfortable. Okay. We prefer the sun, but that's okay. I was just telling you about the Lilith Fair last night at the Coca-Cola Star Lake. Really, really bad weather, so we're glad that you're indoors. That was my selling point last night.
Yeah.
But you know what? I didn't need to sell it because the show is sold out tonight at Metropole.
Is it really?
Yes,
I heard there were 50
is.
tickets left. No.
50 people went down there.
Ah, right. Okay. Great.
Snapped them right up. Teenage Fanclub opening up for you tonight.
Yeah, fantastic band.
Are they?
Yeah.
What are they like?
I think this is their fourth album, songs from the north of Britain, and they're just an amazing band. They've got their own sound, and they sing the most amazing harmonies. They're a 4-piece, 2 guitars, bass and drums. And we've been, in fact, when we first started as a band, we blatantly ripped them off. And,
oh my, true confessions on the X. I love this. Go ahead, Ed, dish more.
So it's great I saw them play in Oxford in our hometown about 2 months ago, and just the gig was amazing. So
really?
we went backstage and met them, and then went back to the band and talked about whether we could have them opening up for us over here for a month, and it's just been great.
And obviously they're big fans of yours.
Yeah, I was talking to Paul the drummer last night, and he said before this show in New York they came to see about a month ago, he hadn't got any of our albums or anything, but he knew a lot of the songs, which is great. I mean, you know, I don't expect people to know our material.
But as long as you rip them off one song,
well, we ripped
they're
them off
feeling
at the
pretty
beginning,
good.
yeah. Definitely.
Okay, I read somewhere that, a quote, rock and roll is the most important thing to Radiohead, but it's also the biggest joke, which I can understand, but I just want you to explain about it.
Yeah, well, I think the rock and roll in this context, the most important thing is the music, which I guess that, you know, broad term speaking, we do play rock and roll, but in terms of the whole rock and roll, the trappings, we didn't get into this band.
Sex, drugs, and rock and roll.
Well, there's more to the
Did
trappings.
Did we get him tested before he entered?
The trappings. There's more. There's the other stuff as well. There's all the paraphernalia, and to be honest with you, you know, if you concentrate on the music, you don't have that much time for the rest of the stuff. We do have our weaknesses and our temptations,
and they're none of our business.
No.
I'll tell you mine. You tell me yours. Never mind. All right. Also, the band began out of sheer boredom. Nothing going on over in England.
Well, not strictly in England. We were in Oxford, or just outside Oxford.
Okay.
Oxford's quiet enough anyway, but we were all at school together, and this was back in like 85, 86.
Okay.
And we just, you know, we had a lot of time to use up, and I think the whole thing I think that's why bands form, don't they? I mean, they form largely to form your own little gang, your own little bubble, your own little world. It's us against the rest of the world, and that's what we did, and those were the initial reasons. And we weren't initially friends, but we became friends through it, so it's great.
Like band competition type of deal, cross town.
Yeah, there wasn't too much that. We were the only band around for a while.
Really?
Yeah. Well, Oxford, there was nowhere to play, so bands didn't form. We just used to play in village halls, you know.
Yeah. Well, because you were doing something, just kind of doing your own thing, everybody warned you that you were being too American. First of all, should we be offended by that?
No, I mean, you know, the bands that when we apart from Teenage Fanclub, we ripped off the Pixies, Dinosaur Jr., Throwing Muses. These are bands who had enormous influence over us, because they were those bands, you have to remember, in like the late 80s, mid to late 80s. They were the only bands that were with guitars that were actually doing something interesting, especially the Pixies. You know, so they were an enormous kind of influence upon us, and the whole thing of 3 guitarists and 3 distortion pedals as we had, it was like, yeah, let's go for it. And so we a big nod to the East Coast scene over here.
You rip it off well, Ed.
Yeah. We've stopped ripping it off, though, I think. I hope so. Yeah, I hope so.
Just kidding. What do you, be honest, do you like America?
Yeah, I do. I haven't really been to Pittsburgh, And I walked around for about an hour today and was saying the architecture is amazing. I'm really interested in places like Pittsburgh, Cleveland, Detroit, places that used to have a huge industrial base and that have now, you know, I mean, obviously had to reinvent themselves somehow.
The Renaissance, yes.
Yeah, I would have loved to have seen, you know, Pittsburgh 25, 30 years ago with a full employment, you know, the steel mills going, the
black smog.
The black smog. You know, all these things, it's very interesting. I mean, these are memories I have of pictures, very early pictures of America when you're young, and the land of the free, the American dream, and people, everyone had a job, and, you know, everyone had a bit of money in their pocket. And it's really interesting to see the way that, you know, the same thing has happened in Britain, but of course it was on a smaller scale. We didn't have the huge industry that you did have over here. So I really enjoy being a tourist in America, and I've really enjoyed being in Pittsburgh today so far.
You make being American much more thrilling than I had ever imagined.
Well, you know, it's that whole thing about coming from a different country. And, you know, as a kid as well, in England, you have to realise, and in Europe, that the influence of America over the rest of the world, we had all these TV programmes, you know, earliest memories were things like Starsky and Hutch.
Oh, yeah.
You know, what else was there? There were you know, Champion the Wonder Horse, black and white stuff. I mean, Bewitched, that was my favourite. I was totally in love with Samantha when I was like 5 years old. So all these Casey Jones, all these programmes were like, we were just fed American TV, and it was great. It was, some of it was Hawaii Five-0. It was great stuff, you know. Cool. I think it's a lot better. Those programmes, maybe it's us good, but those programmes are a lot better than the ones, a lot of programmes being made nowadays over here.
Have you ever heard of the Nickelodeon channel?
No.
Okay, it's an offshoot of MTV.
Right.
And they show those type of cool. Bewitched. Oh, honey, you got to tune in. I'm thinking 8:30 or 9 o'clock. Yeah, and then they spawned this TV land where they go even deeper. They even show some of the old commercials.
Well, we had at the time, we had 3 channels in the UK, in Britain when we were a kid. There are 5 now, but there used to be 4. But we had 3 channels, which is great, and we used to have all the Laurel and Hardys as well. Laurel and Hardy on at 6 o'clock in the evening. So it was we were brought up with American, you know, American TV, and it's very interesting. Like in somewhere like Europe, a lot of, and especially Holland. If you go to Holland, the Dutch are very good at speaking English, but they speak it like it's spoken in kind of like Starsky and Hutch. You know, it's like it's really, really interesting.
Well, you know what? I always did like Huggy Bear.
Huggy Bear was the man. He was great. He was such a cool dude.
I know, that's cool. Well, it's my goal before I die to go over to. See, now I made the mistake. I am geographically challenged. When I said England, I meant the whole country.
Yeah, England,
and that's wrong,
Ireland, Scotland,
isn't it?
Northern Ireland, Scotland,
Britain.
Wales.
I should have said Britain.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's fine. If Teenage Fanclub here, because they're Scottish, they would kind of correct you on that.
And I would expect you to be corrected.
Yeah.
But I definitely would like to make it over there. And you know what? Why don't you hum a tune while I go get your CD?
No way.
Kill some time.
No,
Kill some time, Ed. Come on, I have to go over.
I just had a cigarette, so I'm not probably supposed to say that on there. Cigarettes are probably taboo still. But they are more and more so in this country.
Well, you know, R.J. Reynolds,
they
do a mighty fine business here in the
it was, what's weird, I went for a coffee in this place this morning, and one of the great things I already like about Pittsburgh is you can go and have some breakfast and have a cigarette indoors, not feel like an imposter or an alien and have to go and smoke it outside. I know that's very un-PC smoking these days, but, you know, you've got to have a few vices.
This is here in Pittsburgh?
Yeah.
Where were you? Lots of places. Oh, yeah.
It was very cool. Espresso cappuccino place. It was cool. Yeah.
Okay, well, I've got asthma and severe allergies, so don't you dare light up in front of me. Okay? Radiohead tonight at Metropole with Teenage Fanclub. It is definitely going to be a good show. Don't want you to miss it. And your request, we're going to do...
What's that then? Oh, Off the Bends, right, yeah.
Yes.
Well, instead of playing Creep, I thought we'd hear High and Dry.
Okay, your wish is my command.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for stopping by. Have a good show.
Pleasure.